What's up, math scholars? We're doing another video today. We're going to learn section 1.1, but the most exciting news is we're going to learn all about graph world in the calculator. Who's excited? Woo! Graph world, graph world, graph world. They're excited. You just can't tell. Okay, so did we all locate the gateway to graph world button, the y equals button? All right, so once you're in there, you have a bunch of places you can put equations in. You could actually graph more than 10 lines, I think. I don't know how many slots there are, but there's a lot. We're only going to graph one at a time to start today. This is the equation of the first one that we're going to graph. So go ahead and type this equation in that y1 slot, and I'll put up my big calculator so you can see what your equation looks like. Oh, good question. The exponent is located right beside the green alphabet, or near it. Every calculator is a tiny bit different. Hello, people in the video. We went ahead and put in our equation under y equals. We hit graph, and we all saw an upside down parabola. Woo! And we also learned that Zoom 6 can be your best friend if you get panicked and your viewing window is messed up. So Zoom 6 will get you back to where you need to be. Cool? All right. So get out some paper to start your first day of notes 1.1. Graphing parabolas in standard form. Alrighty. Your first job is to draw a nice, pretty parabola on your paper and label two of the most important parts that we will be finding today. The first part is the vertex. It lives kind of down at the turning point of the parabola. This particular parabola is opening up, so the vertex can also be referred to as the minimum. Now, if you'd have a parabola opening down, what do you think it would be referred to? Starts with an M. Maximum, very good. And then the axis of symmetry is like the line of symmetry. It runs straight down through the parabola, down through the center. I use a dotted line to draw it in there. But it always is an equation. X equals 3 is this particular one. And this particular vertex is 3, 1. And I want you to kind of take note that whatever value you have here, it must match the value here. If those numbers don't match, your line of symmetry wouldn't be going through your vertex. And that wouldn't make much sense. So just, you always want to verify if these numbers are matching. Okay? You don't need to write this down if you're watching the video. What we're going to practice doing on this one is simply finding the coefficients A, B, C. If you've ever done quadratic formula problems, you've found A, B, and C before. So I don't think this should be too hard. Raise your hand if you remember how to do A, B, C, and you want to help me out here. A and B and C. Emily. Just 5. Yep. Perfect, yeah. And those were the numbers that we would insert into that quadratic formula in the past, okay? But yeah, Emily did a great job remembering that A is in front of x squared. That guy can also tell you that the parabola opens up, which is cool. B is located in front of x, and then C is out on the end. C is not going to be all that important for what we are doing today, but I'll still write it down. Okay, so you didn't need to write that down. You don't need to write this down either. But we're just going to do some A, B, and C practice. Raise your hand if you can do it for me. A, B, C. Sydney?
A is 1, B is 3, and C is 2.
Perfect. So what Sydney did a great job remembering is if you can't see the coefficient in front of the variable, it's an invisible one. Look good? And one more practice at A, B, C. Actually, 2 more practices at A, B, C. Who wants to try it? Madison?
A is 2, B is -4, and C is 2.
Yeah, these are going to be the tricky scenarios, just like with the quadratic formula. Remember how the song went, b squared minus 4ac. And anytime you had to square a negative, it was slightly tricky. Well, our formula today is going to go negative b, opposite of b. Just like, oh, actually the quadratic formula says that. X equals the opposite of b. Anytime you take the opposite of a negative, it flips it positive. So it's going to be slightly tricky. All right, and one last ABC practice before we actually get introduced to the formula. Who wants to do it? It's a little harder. Somebody can figure out. Layla? Yep. Perfect. And what do you think that makes B gonna be? Close. 0. There's no X term, and when the term is just missing altogether, it's a 0. You would have been right had this been the formula. Okay, so if it was there and if it was invisible, it'd be a 1. But since it's not there at all, it's a 0. Make sense, everybody? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, perfect. All right, you can resume your writing. I want you to write down the vertex formula that you will use anytime you're finding the vertex of a parabola in standard form. So this can do two things for you. It can get you the first half of your vertex, but it can also get you your axis of symmetry, because those numbers match. All right, so our prompt is find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So go ahead and jot it down, and then I'll have another volunteer telling me my A, B, and C. All right, looking for an A, B, C volunteer. Who's my person? Who can do this one? EJ. Ooh, what do you think? It's negative. You always look at the number and you look at the sign in front of it, so negative. Yep. And then C? Perfect. Okay, so negative B is going to be a slightly challenging situation. Our formula is negative B over 2A. All right. So, yeah, it's going to be a negative B. So a negative 4. And you're right, that will turn in positive, so just be very careful on that. And then on the bottom, we have 2 times A. I do kind of group the bottom in parentheses because if the numbers get bigger and you do need to use your calculator, they are going to need to be grouped so that the calculator would calculate them outright. But we'll just do this one mentally because the numbers are small. On the top, we'll have a positive 4. On the bottom, we'll have a positive 4. So those will divide out to 1. So kind of pause and make sure that. All right, now that we got x equals 1, we know the first half of our vertex, we know the axis of symmetry as well, but we still need to find the y value. To find the y value, it's very simple. It's called plug it in. Plug it in, plug it in. If you go back to the original formula that was provided to you, and you put that 1 in for x, both here and here. So we'll have 2 times 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 2. And you can use mental math on that. You can use the calculator on that. It doesn't matter. If you are using mental math, remember your order of operations. You have to square that first. And then you have to multiply before you add or subtract. Now, if you're plugging it in the calculator does the order of operations for you, so that's not a problem. But it basically turns into 2 minus 4 plus 2. And that's 0. That part is done. All right, same exact thing, just more practice finding the vertex and axis of symmetry. So go ahead and jot it down. All right, I need a volunteer to tell me A, B, and C. Emily. 7, 0, and 2. So now we can do our vertex formula, negative B over 2A. So this one's actually very awesome. Since that B is a 0, the whole entire x value just turns to 0. Because even though we end up dividing by 14, it's still just kind of equals 0. Having a B value of 0 is kind of awesome. We just got ourselves the first half of the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So just remember that the vertex is a coordinate and the axis of symmetry is an equation. It's easy to kind of forget about that. Hello. Okay, so finishing off our vertex, we do need to plug it in. We need to plug that 0 in for x to find the y part of our answer. The y part of our vertex, the coordinate. So 7 times 0 squared is just going to be 7. And it's 7 plus 2 is, oh, sorry, 0. I know, I don't know why I said that. 7 times 0 squared is going to be 0. There we go. Plus 2. There we go. 2. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going to have the kids in the class try to find this vertex all by themselves, and then just stop. You don't need to draw the parabola. Don't need to make the table yet. I will do that with you. If you're at home watching the video, maybe pause the video and try it on your own, and then hit play when you're ready to check your answer. All right, so your A value was 2, your B value was -8. That could cause some headaches. Just be very careful that when you do your formula, it's -B. So it's -8 turns it positive. Does that make sense? The bottom is 2 times A, which is 2 times 2. If the top is 8 and the bottom is 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, 8 divided by 4 equals 2. Is that part okay? All right, so you put your 2 in your first half of your vertex, and then you plug it back in to get the y coordinate of your vertex. You're going to put the 2 in for x. Sorry, my board really doesn't work good in the corners. You can type it all in or do it in your head, but it's 2 times 4, which is 8, minus 16, which is -8, plus 6 is -2. But it's your vertex. We already know our axis of symmetry is x equals 2 because those numbers must match. And now I wanted to show you at this point how the graphing calculator can make a table for you. So it's awesome. Anytime you're asked to make a table, it's good practice to include the vertex on that table. So we are going to definitely want 2, -2 on our table. But I'll show you how to have the calculator generate a whole bunch more values. So go back into Graph World, y equals button. And you're going to want to clear that old equation from earlier. We don't want it anymore, so the clear button's kind of like over here on the right. Type in our new equation, 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Give me a second, type that. And then table. So second table, you do it by doing second graph. So that gets you to table world. Table is kind of tied into the equation that you put in. So the equation we put in would generate all of these coordinates. All these would be coordinates on the parabola. Yeah. Oh, so first we went into here, that's where the equation went in. You got your equation? Okay, and then it's second graph. Second graph. If you're taking notes, because you're going to try this on your calculator later, second graph. Okay. Well, hello, video people. We mainly just use the table world. You do it by doing second table after your equation's in, and just jotted down a few values smaller than the vertex and a few values bigger than the vertex. And if you're wondering what's the point of making a table, well, the point of making a table is so you can draw a very pretty looking graph on your paper. So you can have some coordinates. It's like 0, 6. I can go to that coordinate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 0. I can go to that coordinate. 2, -2. 3, 0. And you're starting to see that symmetry. Those two are symmetric. And 4, 6. Those two are symmetric. You make your really pretty sketch. And you can draw your axis of symmetry down through that vertex. All right, we're now going to do this cool thing called graph 2 graphs at once. So everybody go back into where the equations go. That would be the y equals button. Now if you have a color calculator, it's cool because each graph can be a different color. But if it's black and white, that's okay too. You'll still see both graphs. So let's have 2x squared be our first graph. Our goal is to compare the graphs and come up with some sort of conclusion. The second one is x squared. So my first one will be blue, my second one will be red. We're going to see. So let's pick graph. Looks like the blue one's opening up, the red one's opening up, but the blue one's skinnier. Do you know what's causing that? Alright, so I'll just do a quick sketch so I have it on the smartboard. But my first graph was blue, that was the 2x squared graph. My second graph was red, that was the x squared graph. So we can just kind of draw the conclusion that the larger the a value out front is, the skinnier the graph is. So basically the a value determines whether it opens up and down, and the a value determines whether it's wide or skinny. If the a value was real small, like 1/2, it'd be real wide. Oh, that's probably someone's phone in the pocket. Anyway, crazy buzzing from behind me. I did want to talk about real quick, this is not on my smart slideshow, but someone started the homework in another class, and I think they were asked to graph something like this, and they didn't know how to type a fraction in, so I want to show you that real quick. So let's go ahead and graph 1/2 x squared. I'm going to clear out my old graphs. Typing fractions in, you can just really use the division key. I tend to play it safe with parentheses, so I tend to put the fractions in parentheses, like that. But that's how you would graph a fraction, or type in a fraction. It's just a parenthesis and a division button. And then just for fun, let's graph that and see. It should be a wide parabola. The 1/2 makes it wide. If a is less than 1, it's wide. There it is, wider than the other ones we were looking at. So this will be our last one. It says tell whether the function y equals 3x squared minus 18x plus 20 has a minimum or maximum. What do you guys think? So the 3 is going to make it open up because it's a positive 3. It'll be slightly skinny because 3 is larger than 1. But yeah, it will have a minimum. I heard some people say minimum. You're correct. Now it says find the minimum. How would you go about that? How would we find that? We would just find the vertex. So this is officially your graduation problem. You graduate the lesson if you can find me the vertex. The numbers are a little larger, so it's going to be a little challenge, but you use that vertex formula we've been doing all day, okay? So go ahead and try it, and you can look up and check your answer when you're ready. A video. All right, if you got 3, -7, you graduated. I got my 3, I have my work on how I did that, and I plugged it back in. We did discuss that -7 is the true value of the minimum, but I prefer you just give me the whole vertex. The homework is located right here, and if you want to check out a book for the whole school year, leave it at your house, leave it in your car, whatever. Just find one, any one. It could be under your seat, it could be under the counter, and come over and see me, and I'll sign it out to you. Thanks for watching the video, everybody.